Hey everybody, had to put on my cover up to hide these bags under my eyes. No. Look, girl, can't be going on camera looking all crazy, right? I think it worked a little bit. But anyway, came on here to talk about something. Um, you know, Micaiah, who is 10, um, we're considering, me and my husband talked about it already. So we were already considering letting him finish out the school year, like finish out, the rest of school until June when they're out. And taking him out of school and doing online schooling with him. We will do that. So after, I say, when does school start? Like around September, I guess, yeah. Some start in August, some start in September, so I'm kind of confused. But yeah, September, he'll be doing online schooling, and I found two that I was doing some research on this morning. I just got to look more into it, me and my husband both, and see which one is more, which we feel is more right. One I felt more comfortable with, like I got a good feeling from. The other one was kind of like, it's kind of mundane, whatever, but the other one seemed like pretty good. And we're going to do that. So, for those of you, now, I'll put it this way. Okay, so today, my son is kind of lackadaisical, and it was a late start, which means they normally start at 8:15. This morning, starting at 9:15, and they do that every Monday. Every Monday is a late start. So I was, like he was eating breakfast and all other kind of stuff. Now, he normally takes a long time, especially if it's something that he doesn't really care for, or if it's like first thing in the morning, so I know that. So, oh, here we go. I try not to rush him and try to be like, okay, come on, eat your food. I won't be like, I won't say come on, but I'll be like, eat your food, Kaya, something like that. Because I know he doesn't like to be rushed. When you rush him, I guess to him, I'm assuming, because I don't know, but I'm assuming to him it sounds mean. If you're like, come on, eat your food, like hurry up, like that type of thing, it sounds mean. So then he gets offended. Sometimes he might even cry, whatever. So I'm like, no, we don't want that. So I'm like, okay, so I just, soft, pushes to eat. And then it was time for him to brush his teeth. So he was taking a long time with that. So I'm like, come on, Micaiah, like it's 9 o'clock, we gotta go. Like we gotta be out this door. So, he was like, okay, whatever. So I don't know if that bothered him. It might have, because maybe I sounded too forceful. I don't know. So when we driving in the car and we get to the school, when he got in the car this morning, I already saw a look, like a kind of like he was perturbed. Okay. So when we get to the school or whatever, and he's like in the back seat and he's daydreaming, and I'm like, the cars, because we're waiting in line to drop our kids off. So I'm like, okay, like, come on, Micaiah, like, seatbelt, all that, get that off and everything. So, you can go and everything like that. So he does that, but he doesn't seem like he's all that, feeling all that good about it. So I'm like, something, I can't say that something is going on. I feel like something is going on. It could be, from the situation with the whole bullying with kids. Maybe some kids are still bothering him. I don't know. Maybe it's just the atmosphere, and that's bothering him. Better not be a grown-up bothering him, because I'm telling you right now, I go to prison, I will do what I gotta do, okay? I'll handle a grown-up. I don't care. I gotta do prison time, I gotta do prison time. Doesn't matter to me. And my husband feels the same way. No, but one of us got to stay out so we can take care of the kid. But it's like, I don't know what's going on. So when I asked him before, what's going on, like talk to me or whatever, and he really, he'll talk to me, he'll tell me, but I have to like ask him direct questions, and everything like that. And which is nothing wrong with asking direct questions, but I just wish he was the kind of kid that was more verbal and talkative. He really is not. He's very quiet, kind of shy. Like he'll go to the park and run around and he sees kids and he'll make friends and they'll play and, makes friends quick. But, he's still kind of like a little shy, and everything like that. So, yeah, he's not very talkative. But neither am I. Neither was my mother. Now, my father, everybody know, Klein rough. Could talk, okay? He can talk a lot. So, Micaiah doesn't hold that quality. Neither does Eric. Tiffany, on the other hand, she's talkative. She's talkative. She got a granddaddy's genes. But, it's like, so I'm just not feeling comfortable. So we're going to take him out, and I might take him out sooner. I was going to have him finish, up until June when school was out, and just let him finish out. There really is no purpose to do that. The only purpose would be like more free time for me or whatever. And, it can't be about me because I have a child. I'll be working. So when I get off at night, in the morning, early in the morning, and my husband has to go to work, it means less sleep for me. But, it is what it is because I can't, I don't want him to continue going somewhere where he's uncomfortable. Because I asked him if he wanted to go to school, before, like a couple of weeks ago, when all this bullying and stuff started. And he was like, yeah. And I said, because you don't have to go. We can take you out of school. We can homeschool. You don't have to go to school. So I need to know, you need to tell me, do you want to go to school or not? And he said he wanted to go. So that's why I'm still sending him. It wasn't like, oh, well, you're going to go and this, that, and the other. I asked him. I talked to him. I asked him questions because that's what you're supposed to do because that's fair. So I did that. And he said he still wanted to go. So I think the problem is this. I'm starting to understand it. The more I talk about it, the more I'm understanding it. And, excuse me, y'all. I ain't crying. I just put this concealer under my eyes to cover these dark circles. And sometimes it leaks. Not leaks, but sometimes my eyes run because some of the concealer might have gotten into my eye. But anyway, so I asked him, and I think what the problem is that he does want to go to school because he likes the concept of school. What he doesn't like is the way he's being treated at school. That's what it is. And, I'm glad I do these videos and I talk because the more I do that, the more I understand, So my daughter, who I love dearly, but often disagree with regularly. Just because I disagree with her doesn't mean I don't love her, because I do love her. But we have a difference of opinion because we're different people. And she feels like, oh, well, don't take him out of school because he needs the social interaction, and he has to learn how to fight. He has to stick up for himself. This, that, blah, 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 blah. Yes, he does. She is right. She is right. He does. Um, and then Tiffany, who grew up in the 90s, was a 90s child. We all know that the 90s was a different time, a different day, just like the 80s for me. Um, you know, I, realized that back then, okay, back then when I was going to school in the 70s, I'll start with me. I'll be fair. When I was going to school in the, late 70s, early 80s, because it was really 80s, that I was really there. Um, in the 80s, it was a different climate. Every decade is a different climate. So in the 80s, I could speak on that because that's when I was going to school. Because in 1980, I was 6 because I was born in 74. So I could speak on the 80s. So I was 6 years old, 1980. Okay. It was a different climate. I grew up in Mays Landing, for those of you that don't know about Mays Landing, which I'm sure most of you do. But for those that don't, if there's any new people that will watch my videos, it was in Mays Landing, New Jersey. Mays Landing is in New Jersey, on the East Coast, and one of the New England states. So, when I first started out going to school, now in kindergarten and stuff like that, when I was like 3, I started school. I went to Head Start, kindergarten, preschool, that type of thing. And I went to Christian Academy. My parents, were Seventh-day Adventists. We were Seventh-day Adventists. So there was a school, it was called Modern Miracle School. And I went there. It was Christian Academy. It was only like me, and I remember one other child, a little boy or whatever. We grew up to be friends because he even, went to public school afterwards too. I ain't gonna say his name, but we grew up to be friends, but we fought like cats and dogs when we was younger. So shout out to him. I can't, say names because people might not want their names mentioned, so I have to be mindful of that. It's a respect factor. So I did that. And it was, I guess I liked it as a kid, like going there and, knew the teachers that were there were people that were in the church, so they were like, the elders, older people, whatever, in church, and they were teachers and, all that. And some of the teachers were young, the young women and all that. So you just went and everybody was black. So it was, like it was comfortability type issue. So we went, I went there. Then for grade school, I went to a mixture of private and public schools, or I guess what they would call parochial schools because they were Christian-based schools. So I had my mixture with that. But when I got to high school, it was like, I don't want to do private school no more. I don't want to go and live off campus somewhere and away from my family. I was like, I don't want to do that. Daddy, no, no, no. So he was like, okay, you go to public school. So I think, like, back then when I was going to public school, it was different, because now I'm not going to say racism didn't exist, and I'm not going to say prejudice didn't exist, because both of those existed since the beginning of time, especially prejudice. Or classism, that too. We all grew up, in the same area, white, black, Puerto Rican, whatever, in Mays Landing was a little town, so we all went to school, we were all friends, like now, let me straighten that out. You're not friends with everybody. But for the most part, everybody was cool and kosher with one another. There was, like you're gonna fight, a boy might try to step to another boy or whatever, this, that, and the other, whatever. There wasn't a lot of that going on. But, might shoot the fair one, whatever they call it, and all that. So it was like, but it was still, everybody still had a respect for one another. It's like, okay, if you saw some white kids, you with a group of black kids, there's a group of white kids. There might be somebody in your group that might try to say something slick, and you'd be like, come on, man, like, leave him alone. He ain't messing with you. Like, why you gotta mess with him and this and that and the other? And you squash it and just, stop it before it turns into something big, whatever. And, it's like, come on, So everybody was like basically copacetic, with everyone else. And I played with the white kids, little white boys. I played because I like the boy toys, so I was playing with the Transformers and the GI Joes and the trucks and all that. I wanted to play that shit. It was fun. More fun than them damn dolls I had all the time to play with. No, but and roll down a hill and play fighting games with them. And I was, man, well, I was a tomboy. Okay, so I did all that. I had fun. And it was with the little white boys, Every now and then a little black boy might join in, but for the most part, it was the white boys. So I was cool. We was cool. But that's the way it was in the 80s. Everybody basically, for the most part, got along with one another and respected one another. Respect was it. Because even if you didn't like the person or whatever, it was just like, okay, cool. They go their way, I go my way. No hard feelings, We just want two separate levels, two separate playing fields, and it is what it is. But we're not gonna bother each other. We have respect, for one another, and that, for that. My daughter grew up in the 90s. It was a different time. The 90s was a little different, and I was a single parent. So I had my daughter when I was 18, and her father wasn't around to help me raise her. So I had my parents, my mom and my dad, and family, my family, my sisters and all that. And they had kids too. So it was like, that was the environment that she grew up in. It was still home-like, still in Mays Landing, quiet, kosher, Mays Landing, this, that, the third. But the climate was different because it was the 90s. So because I was a single parent, I knew I had to teach my daughter how to fight, how to protect herself. If she come home from school, such and such is picking on me, and I'll be like, well, go beat such and such ass. Like, you better fight them or I'm gonna fight you, because back then we didn't have time to, like, be the way we can be today. I was a single parent. It was hard for me. I knew that I couldn't be with her 24/7 like I would like, to be a better mode of protection. So I had to teach her how to be tough. I had to teach her how to fight. I had to, and I didn't want her to allow kids to pick on her and bully her and this and that. And bullying was a thing. It's not as much as a thing as it is today, but it was a thing. So I had to teach her how to be tough and how to get out there and fight, take care, watch your back, that type of thing. So she was like, because she was born in 92, so she was 90s into 2000. So you had to, had to do that, had to knuckle up, you had to fight. So she was tough. Eric, on the other hand, Eric was bad. Oh, I love my son, but he was bad. He was bad as a little kid. Once he got to like first and second grade and third grade and started going to the schools, he wasn't like bad or obnoxious in that way. He was more so like, he just didn't like school. He didn't like order. Like if he had to sit down and listen to boring people, he wasn't beat for that. So he was a different kid. He said that there was bullies, and I know once we moved to Florida and he was in fifth grade, sixth grade, there were bullies there. There were kids that were bullying him. And a mixture of white kids and black kids. Those kids down there was just bad. They were bad. So he, we homeschooled him because it was like, okay, we don't need him in that environment, this, that, and the third. Now, Micaiah is going through it here. Now, just because I live in an area where it's nice and people have money and this and that, doesn't mean that their kids are good. Their kids are just as bad and rotten as a kid would be in the ghetto or in a place that doesn't have as much money and resources. Kids are still bad. Not only are the kids bad, some of them, bad acting, I'll say, bad behaviors. Not only that, but they ostracize, like if you're not like them, then, you're like an outcast, you're over here, this and that. So there's a lot of separation too. And now in this climate of racism where I won't say a lot of, because that's not fair, where some of their parents are prejudiced, maybe racist, maybe, the kids also pick up on that at home, either pick up on it or see it or hear it or taught it, and then they come to school and act the same way. So you have all of that going on. Now, in this climate, I do agree that, we're going to teach, Makai's going to take boxing lessons and he's going to take martial arts. Now, he might not be happy about it, but it's just the way it is. It's going to happen. Because he has to defend himself. And, he's, for the most part, a very law-abiding citizen. Micaiah is a moral oral. He, when I was telling him the kids were bothering him, and I'm like, okay, we'll go to school and whip their ass, like fight them. I'm just, I'm classy, but I still got that jersey, okay? I'm still Mary. I'm still like, I will kick your ass, but I will also sit down and have a nice cup of tea. I'm still, I can switch it up, baby. I can switch it up how you want to work it, okay? I'm still me, okay? Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. I'm nice, like I said, nice, polite, sweet, petite. I'm all of that. But there's another side, okay? So my Jersey peeps know how I do. My family know how I do, okay? Because I'm still me, So I'm like, go and whoop their ass, like take a book, smack them upside the head, and don't stab nobody with no pencils. Please don't do that. But grab a book and smack that nigga upside his fucking head, push them, kick them, do whatever you gotta do, fight. I don't care. And they call me up to school. I'm gonna go up to school and I'm gonna be like, my child is no bully. But I did teach him to defend himself. So who was messing with him? That's what I'm gonna say. Because my dad said the same thing when it came to me. Okay? Because I know my children. My children are not bullies. They might be a lot of things, but they're not bullies. And I know that for a fact. So I'm going to be like, who was bothering my child? Because I told them about Eric and Tiffany when they was trying to make them out, oh, this, that, and the other. No. My daughter is not a bully. She might be some things, but she is not a bully and she's not a liar. Okay? She tries to make friends with people. She wants to be friends with people. Somebody was messing with her. So you're not going to have me come up to the school and co-sign what you say and vilify my child right along with you. No, because I know my children. Okay? A good mother knows their children, and I know my children. And my children are no bullies. So who's messing with them? So I told him, I was like, and you might get in trouble, and the teachers might, say something or whatever, and they're going to tell you, that they got to call me, and let them call me, and I come up to the school, and I'll be like, I'll stick up for you. Who was messing with you? Who was doing something with you? Because I know you're not like that, but you know what he says? That's not the rules. You're not supposed to hit. You're not supposed to fight. And he's so sweet, and I love him for that. And I wish we lived in a world where that innocence was allowed, and it was, good. But unfortunately, we live in a climate, in a world, in the times where that innocence has to go out the window. You have to fight. You have to do what you got to do. I don't care about the rules. Sometimes you got to break them. So, me telling him to constantly do that, his father's going to have to get on the bandwagon and start telling him to do that too. Maybe he'll listen to him more than he will me. I don't know. But we're going to give him the tools that he needs in order to defend himself, which is these. You got these. We're going to teach you how to use these. You're going to have the karate. You're going to have the boxing. We're going to teach you how to defend yourself. Okay? But the mood he was in this morning, because I asked him about boxing, and I asked him if he wanted to do it. He said no. And I said, well, you're going to do it anyway. But I told him why. I said, you have to learn how to defend yourself. Boxing is you defending yourself. They're not going to throw you in a ring with somebody and you got to fight them and all that. No. You're going to have an instructor. Either me or daddy or both of us will be there when you have your training classes. And the instructor will show you what to do and how to fight and how to defend yourself. And that's what you do. So ain't nobody going to be beating on you or knocking you out it's none of that. You're going to learn how to defend yourself. How to throw a punch, how to block a punch, this and that and the other. When you go to karate, they're going to show you how to use these hands, and how to use those legs, so they're going to show you how to defend yourself. So that's all we're doing. We're not trying to make him into super fighting machine or anything like that. We just want him to be able to defend himself, because me and his father are getting older, okay? I know I look good, and all that, but I'm 49. We're not going to live forever, okay? So we have to make sure that he knows how to defend himself. As far as the social aspect with school and all that, yeah, you want your kids to be around other kids their age, this, that, and the third. Well, you know what? That's what the parks are for. Take your child to the park. Take them to the playground. Let them play with kids. And if there ain't no kids at this park, well, then take them to the other park. Okay? I don't do summer camp because I don't trust people, period. But I don't trust summer camp. First of all, you're not taking my child around no water. He does not know how to swim. I want to train him, and then an accident happens. No. We're not doing that. So, and I don't trust, it's just so many diabolical things that go on. And I just don't trust people enough, so he's not doing summer camp. We will be his summer camp. We will take him places. We will go on field trips. We will go on hikes. We will go on excursions. We'll go to the beach. We like to play in the water and this and that. My husband knows how to swim, so he can teach him. I don't want no other person to teach him. Okay, we can do that. That's what we're for. Thank you very much. But it's just a lot of stuff, and I'm going to take him out. And what I want to say to my family is this, if you can, if you can work it out where maybe you work at night and your girl work in the day, or vice versa, and you can do it, homeschool your child. There's a difference between homeschool and virtual, and this video is probably about to cut off, so I'll have to come back and tell you guys in my second part of the video and explain the difference between the two. Because when we first started out, we were a little confused, and when people are confused and they think something, then they normally don't want to try it, because it's like, well, I don't understand that, and I think it's this, so no, I can't do that. But I'm going to cut the video off, and I'll come back in the second video and explain to you guys the difference between the two. So hold tight.